nothing for the many comfortless scenes he was hourly called forth to visit, where poverty and sickness and affliction dwelt together. For these reasons he resolved to discontinue the expense, and there appeared but two possible ways to extricate him clearly out of it, and these were, either to make it an irrevocable law never more to lend his deed upon any application whatever, or else be content to ride the last poor devil, such as they had made him, with all his aches and infirmities, to the very end of the chapter. As he dreaded his own constancy in the first, he very cheerfully betook himself to the second, and though he could very well have explained it, as I said, to his honour, yet for that very reason he had a spirit above it, choosing rather to bear the contempt of his enemies and the laughter of his friends, than undergo the pain of telling a story which might seem a panegyric upon himself. I have the highest idea of the spiritual and refined sentiments of this reverend gentleman, from the single stroke in his character, which I think comes up to any of the honest refinements of the peerless knight of Flamenca, whom, by the by, with all his follies, I love more, and would actually have gone further to have paid a visit to, than the greatest hero of antiquity. But this is not the moral of my story. The thing I had in view was to shew the temper of the world in the whole of this affair. For you must know that so long as this explanation would have done the parson credit, the devil a soul could find it out. I suppose his enemies would not, and that his friends could not. But no sooner did he bestir himself in behalf of the midwife, and pay the expenses of the ordinary's licence to send her up, but the whole secret came out. Every horse he had lost, and 2 horses more than ever he had lost, with all the circumstances of their destruction, were known and distinctly remembered. The story ran like wildfire. The parson had a returning fit of pride, which had just seized him, and was going to be well mounted once again in his life. And if it was so, 'twas plain as the sun at noonday, he would pocket the expense of the licence 10 times told the very first year, so that everybody was left to judge what were his views in this act of charity. What were his views in this and in every other action of his life, or rather, what were the opinions which floated in the brains of other people concerning it, was a thought which too much floated in his own, and too often broke in upon his rest, when he should have been sound asleep. About 10 years ago, this gentleman had the good fortune to be made entirely easy beyond that score, it being just so long since he left his parish, and the whole world at the same time behind him, and stands accountable to a judge of whom he will have no cause to complain. But there is a fatality attends the actions of some men. Order them as they will, they pass through a certain medium, which so twists and refracts them from their true directions, that, with all the tartest of praise which a rectitude of heart can give, the doers of them are nevertheless forced to live and die without it. Of the truth of which this gentleman was a painful example. But to know by what means this came to pass, and to make that knowledge of use to you, I insist upon it, that you read the 2 following chapters, which contain such a sketch of his life and conversation as will carry its moral along with it. When this is done, if nothing stops us in our way, we will go on with the midwife. End of chapter 10.